Hello everyone, and welcome to my classic Season of Discovery leveling guide. In this guide, I'll talk about different tips and tricks, the talent trees I like to level with, how I will gear up as I'm also gaining a ton of experience, and last but not least, the best race, or well, what I would choose for each individual spec. As a druid, you can level up either as resto, feral, or balance. In my opinion, resto is the worst. You won't really get many things that will improve your leveling or will kill speed. And in dungeons, you don't need to be a resto at low level to heal. Just get yourself some intellect so you have a decent amount of mana. Instead, I would either level as feral or balance. As a balanced druid, you will be standing at range and shooting your different abilities, for example your breath. But there's a big downside as a balance. You will spend a ton of time drinking to restore mana. Therefore, I usually prefer just to level up as a feral druid. In the first line, I spent 5 points into ferocity to reduce the rage cost of my different bear abilities. Later on, this talent will also benefit me when I unlock my cat form. In the next row, I don't really like feral instinct or improving the duration of my bash. So what I tend to do is to spend 5 points into thick hide to increase the armor contribution from my items by 10%. You could also spend 5 points into feral aggression. Just remember that in phase 1 we won't unlock ferocious bite anyway, so this talent won't benefit you much. In the next row you get 3 amazing choices. Feral charge so you can charge in bear form, sharpened claws for more crit in bear form and cat form, and feline swiftness. This talent I always go with in the beginning, so I have 30% increased movement speed while I'm outdoors as a cat form. This is insane, so you can travel around faster, but also get to new enemies a bit quicker. And then I spend points into sharpened claws. Of course, if you dislike cat form and you just prefer to tank or play in bear form, then you should get yourself feral charge and then sharpened claws. You should also consider spending points into feral instinct to increase the threat you cause in bear form. But you could also play as a balanced druid, and in the first row, I would highly recommend you to spend 5 points into improving your wrath. This will be your main damage dealing ability, so reducing the cast time with half a second is going to be amazing. Nature's Grasp is of course a cool spell, but I don't prefer to use it at lower levels because I would rather like to kill the enemies a bit quicker. This is also why I don't spend any points into improving my entangling roots. To increase the damage I do as a balanced druid, it's way better to spend 5 points into improving my Moonfire. A natural weapon seems a bit useless to me, as I'll be casting at range and not shapeshifting into forms all the time. And therefore, I also don't want to reduce the mana cost of my different shapeshifting spells. If you did end up spending 5 points into natural weapons, then in the next row you can also unlock Omen of Clarity. But just remember, this requires you to do melee attacks for it to also be beneficial, so as a balanced druid at range, it won't benefit you much right now. Instead, you should spend points into improving your thorns, or you could also spend points into increasing your range with Wrath, Entangling Roots, and many other spells. And this is honestly what I prefer to choose. I don't want to rely on a spell where the enemies are also forced to hit me before I will deal any damage. But I will still max it out just to reach level 25, and then I'll most likely end up having to respec anyway. Next up is some different tips and tricks. And whenever you get slowed, rooted or snared, then you can just cast a new form. This will remove any of these effects. As a druid, it's never a bad decision to level up first aid. When you get to low health, you can root the enemy, make some distance, and then use your bandage. So when you're healing with your bandages, then you get mana, and this you can use to get back into cat form or bear form, but now with a lot more health. In addition to this, as you're waiting for mana regen, then you can also swap to a weapon with spirit. So as you're leveling up, and if you find any weapons with spirit, then I would highly recommend you to keep these. Whenever I'm healing in a dungeon, then I'd like to place all my heal over time on the tank, and then either go into cat form and prowl, or just use my shadow meld. Because I did this, then I won't be in combat, and I won't be CC'd by any nearby targets, because yeah, they can't see me. Then when I break out of the stealth, I can continue healing, and now with full mana. As a druid, I like to use a macro that will automatically turn me into cat form, and also use my prowl ability. So instead of having to press different keybinds, then I just press one button, and it will do everything. and even prevent me from breaking my cat form or my stealth. If you would like this yourself, then all you need to do is just to go to the description below the video and copy paste it into your game. In Season of Discovery, we can also get a new spell, which is called Skull Bash. This will charge the enemy and prevent any spell in that skull from being casted for 2 seconds. And yeah, it will of course also interrupt the spell cast. Sometimes you might have to use this on another nearby target, but without having to swap your main target. So what I would do in this case would be to make a Mouseover macro, so you at any given time quickly can interrupt your Mouseover target. To save yourself some time, then I would recommend you to do dungeons on your way to level 25. By doing this, you gain amazing experience and also a ton of rewards. So when you reach max level, then you don't have to spend as much time going to dungeons to prepare for the upcoming raid. As a resto and a balanced druid, you should try to obtain these items in dead mines. Yeah, even the staff might also be useful as a feral. Or even better, get this mace with a ton of strength and also a decent amount of agility. And don't forget to also try to obtain your Defier's armor and cape of the Brotherhood. In Wailing Caverns, your main goal is to obtain your leggings of the Fang, but the feats and the cloak isn't too bad either. And don't forget to kill the final boss in the dungeon, as it has a high chance to drop this amazing ring. And don't forget to also loot the glowing shard from this boss. It begins a short quest chain where you as a druid will benefit a lot from the cloth shoulders. If you're still lacking items as a balance or rested druid, then I would highly recommend you to head into Shadowfang Keep. You can obtain 3 different cloth items with a ton of intellect and even some spirit too. As a feral druid, it's also going to be important to obtain this ring, as it provides a ton of strength for more damage and also some stamina for more survivability. And if you level up leatherworking yourself or know a leatherworker, then you can also ask them to craft these gloves. Agility, stamina and spirit, once again a feral item. But don't worry, there's also an item for a balance and a rested druid, the spider silk boots, which is crafted by tailors. On top of this, there's also many different dungeon quests that either rewards green or blue items. I will get back to those quests later in the video. So what race should you choose? Each faction only has one option. It is to either play as a Tauren or a Night Elf. The benefit of rolling a Tauren is that your total health will be increased by 5%. This is useful in PvP, but also if you mainly plan to tank. And a War Stomp, a quick cast that stuns up to 5 enemies within 8 yards for 2 seconds. The downside of this racial is that you will also leave any shapeshifting form, but it allows you to stun the enemy and then you can run away or quickly cast a CC. The benefit of rolling a Night Elf is your racial passive quickness that increases your dodge chance by 1%. Shadow Melt is still useful, for example in PvP, when you start drinking, then you can Shadow Melt to also regen mana and not be detected. Or in PvE, use all your heal over time effects on your tank, then use your Shadow Melt to reduce the chance of you being detected and also not gaining any threat. And you might also notice that because of Shadow Melt, then there will also be a passive that increases your Prowl effect in cat form. So like I mentioned earlier, it will be important to do the different dungeon quests to gain more experience but also amazing loot as you're leveling up. But the thing is that some of these will also require you to travel around or do different pre-quests before you can acquire them. Therefore, I use an add-on to make sure I do all the necessary things. The name of this add-on is Rested Experience, and there's a free trial version you can download right now by using the link below the video. It also comes with a leveling guide, just in case you don't know how to level. And of course a full version you can also purchase with a lot of other features. For example, in the future, how to acquire your most important runes at level 25. If you wish to get the full version, you can even get a discount by using the link and of course also applying my discount code GuideMMO. But the main reason why I mentioned the add-on was simply just so you knew where to pick up the different dungeon quests, what pre-quests you might also need to do, so you can plan all of this in your level 1 to 25 route. If you're mainly interested in classic Season of Discovery, then on my channel you can find a ton of different videos, and soon also a lot more, for example tips and tricks, gold making, and even leveling guides. So if you're interested in that kind of content, then I would highly recommend you to also subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified the next time I post a video.